Hmm. Hey everyone, good evening. Good evening, Shivam. Good evening, Kunal. Good evening, Shivam again. Good evening, Hemant, Nikhil, Jatin, Vidya, Sri Harsha, Preeti,
Yeah, good evening.
Anantan, Sidhesh. Hey, good
Yeah,
evening.
good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Yes. Cool. So we'll go ahead and start with today's session. Just give me a minute. So I think my screen should now be visible. Okay, and you should be able to see working with databases on the screen. Is that correct? Yes or no in the chat, please? Cool. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So we'll go ahead and start with the session. Hmm. Cool. So today's session is going to be about, so in the last session we have talked about three important things. So whenever you go ahead and think about creating a technical solution which has some kind of interface, which has some kind of logic, which has some kind of data, then you can go ahead and divide it into these three components. So every system could be divided into three components. One is the component which is the UX UI part, which is the presentation layer. The second is the logic layer, where all of the operations, all of the algorithms are there, like what should happen, what is the business logic. And then the third part is databases, as in how do you go ahead and make sure that the data is stored and it could be retrieved at the time that is possible. Okay, so today we are going to talk about the third leg, which is databases in detail. We are going to talk about SQL, we are going to talk about schemas, we are going to talk about how do you write SQL, how do you write queries, and I'm going to also tell you how do you go ahead and create a schema for a sample project out there. Okay, so this is it. And we have gone ahead and discussed this in the last session, which is if I want to go ahead and break LinkedIn reaction into three major components. First is presentation layer, where I go ahead and make a reaction on any comment. And when I make the reaction, the presentation layer will catch who am I, it will catch what is the icon that I have pressed, and then it will go ahead and send this information to the logic layer. The logic layer will take this information and decide something. It will decide whether it want to send an output, it want to go ahead and change something in the database. That is going to be decided in the logic layer, and then it is going to go give instructions to the data layer to do something, and then output will be created based on the business logic, and it will be sent to the presentation layer, which again has to present it. For example, right now you could see there are 144 plus 145 reactions out there, plus 145 plus 144 plus 1 reactions out there. If I go ahead and press this like button, then it will increase to 146 reactions. Okay, and the color of this button will also become a bit darker. So this is the response that logic layer might have told to go ahead and present on the presentation layer. Okay, so now we'll go ahead and try to understand like how database works at the backend. Okay, so let me tell you the logic behind what might be happening at LinkedIn when you go ahead and create an account and do other stuff. Cool. So this is what happens. Okay, we'll consider some functions of LinkedIn and we'll try to understand what happens. Okay, so for example, initially you have just started your journey on LinkedIn, and you have came to the sign up screen, sign up form. Okay, so there is this sign up form where it will ask for your name, it will ask for your email, it might also ask for your date of birth, which is the date, which is the month and the year, and then it will ask you to sign up. Okay, once you go ahead and give this information, what happens at the back? Okay, so this information would be given, and now in the backend, the the logic has to decide whether they want to go ahead and make you a new user or not. They want to take you in or not, and if they decide to take you in, they have to now capture your information so that they can create your profile. Okay, so maybe there would be a logic layer which will do something, and behind this logic layer, there would be some kind of database or some kind of structured information out there. Okay, which is maybe let us say they have created some kind of spreadsheet at the backend where these kind of details are mentioned. So we need to know some kind of explicit information which the user has sent, which is the name of the user, the email of the user, the DOB of the user. Okay, we have this. So there would be like something at the backend in the database, which will store all of this information. So whenever this request comes, the logic layer will first try to understand whether we already have a person with this particular email ID or not. If we already have a person with this email ID, we will ask them to go ahead and log in rather than registering because they already have the account. Okay, so this is going to happen. And then there is going to be some implicit information. For example, consider that this is a brand new user. They do not have any information on the website so far in the database so far. So what will happen is that we will go ahead and create a new row. We will go ahead and create new info. We will gather this information and put it into a database so that we can use it later for profile information or anything. So this phone, email, and DOB, this is actually given by the user, while some information would be taken from the context. For example, which browser is the user using? Okay, so user does not have to tell this. Your device itself tell it to the LinkedIn logic out there, and it is the choice of LinkedIn database to decide to store it or not. Then the timestamp, as in at what time and date has this person registered. Okay, and maybe if you have came to LinkedIn through some kind of promotion. Okay, so you might have seen that in the tracking URLs, in the URLs which are used for promotion, or in the banner ads, you will see these kind of parameters, that there is a complete URL mentioned and there would be mentioned UTM, source, UTM, camping, UTM, medium, or something. Okay, so this, when you go ahead and append this in the URL, it will make sure that the system would be able to understand where this user is coming from, so that they can understand whether this particular promotion that they are doing at any place is giving them some kind of results or not. So maybe that will also count the source from where the user is coming, or the promotion channel from which the user is coming, so that it will help their product managers or whoever is working on the products in order to improve the product later on. Okay, so this is how it occurs. Okay, and there now you see that now if you talk about any feature of LinkedIn, maybe if we talk about users, we talk about posts, we talk about their profile, we talk about their reactions, we talk about comments. So now you can imagine that yes, there would be some kind of there would be some kind of structure at place at LinkedIn through which they can store this data, and then the logic layer should be able to talk with that particular structure. Okay, so these structures are known as database. Okay, so to give you an analogy, let us consider a database as a set of spreadsheets. Okay, so I believe everyone has used Excel, or everyone has used at least Google Sheets. So imagine that this is only a Google Sheet, like combination of Google Sheets, where in every sheet we have certain kind of structured information. And as new content is being added, for example, if one user is added on LinkedIn, we will go ahead and create, add one more row to this particular table out there. Okay, so for example, if I am added, my ID would be maybe 1 if I'm the first user, and then there would be my first name, last name, my handle, when I have registered, and my email ID. And similarly, if other user is added, it could be also added. So I can I can even add infinite number of users in this particular table. Similarly, if I go ahead and upload a photo, then all the photos would be mentioned over here. Similarly, if I go ahead and like something, then it would be mentioned over here. Okay, so so before you could do all of these things as a developer or maybe as a product manager, you have to make sure that you know how you can decide this schema. So how will someone decide whether I should go ahead and include a first name, last name, handle, or how should I decide the rows in a column? Okay, the rows or the kind of information that I need to store, how would I decide? Okay, so that is known as a DB schema. Okay, so whenever you go ahead and decide, yes, this is the information that is important for me, and this is how I am going to store the information, so that later on you can use this data in order to create some kind of functionality, or can do some kind of analysis on the data that you have collected. Okay, so now how to create the database schema. So what we have talked this far, like this particular structure, as in what should be stored exactly in the table, and what are the different kind of table that you should maintain, that is known as schema. Okay, and this is the simple step to create a schema. Understand, schema is something that comes with experience. You will go ahead and expose yourself to multiple kind of products, multiple kind of features out there in order to understand these concepts really, really well. Okay, but for a general understanding, these are the 3 steps that people follow in order to create any kind of schema. Okay, so the first is you have to go ahead and understand the feature really well, which is very obvious, that understand the feature really well and list down all of the data that you might require. Okay, second is you have to identify the entities and attributes. Entity is an object. For example, the user is an object, and the attributes are what could be the properties of that particular object. For example, a user is an entity, and then this entity could have a name, it could have a registered address, it could have an email, it could have an organization, and these kind of things. So entity is an object that you store, which is a noun. And then attributes are what are the properties, what are the qualities, or what are the attributes of this particular entity. So here in this case, when we talk about LinkedIn, then user, a particular user is actually an entity, and then an entity could have multiple properties. So users table is actually representing one kind of entity, which is the user. And then there are different kind of properties of this entity. Similarly, a like is an entity. And then when the like has happened, on which photo has that like happened, which will or which status this like has happened is actually the property of that particular like. Okay, so let us see, like if you want to like understand the entities and attributes in a bit more detail, understand all of the students that are present in this particular session. Okay, so all of those, like all of you are known as students or participants. So that is the name of the entity. While there are some attributes that define you. For example, one is the name. Someone's name is Akash, someone's name is Anand, someone's name is Dharin. Okay, then there is a location that you are logging in from. Someone is logging from Delhi, someone is logging from outside India, someone is logging from somewhere else out there. Okay, so entity, the tables make sure that they are storing similar kind of entities. The attributes could be different, but the entities, if there are similar kind, these are the same entities, they are going to be stored in the same kind of table. Okay, so to understand this in detail, let us go ahead and create a database schema for LinkedIn. Okay, and we are going to consider 3 features. Understand, if I talk about whole of LinkedIn, there could be hundreds, if not thousands of rows. Okay, thousands of tables out there, but we'll just limit ourselves to a very basic high level understanding of this. And we'll only talk about 3 features. Users can create profile, users can post status updates, and users can react on status updates. Okay, so this is what we have to create. So let us understand what we can build. The first thing is users can create profile. So let us say that this is about users. So the entity is users. This is also going to be the name of the table because similar kind of entities are stored in a table. So we'll name the table as the entity. Okay. Now, what could be the properties? If someone goes ahead and adds the profile on LinkedIn, what do you think are the properties? Tell me in the chat, please. What are the properties of the users? When you go ahead and put your information on LinkedIn, what is the information that you put? First name, location, email, phone number. Yes, yes, yes. And maybe the company name. Yes, education would also be there. Okay. Similarly, for yes. Similarly, let us talk about education. Okay. This is an interesting one. So we are talking about education. So for example, we have created a very simple row. Okay. In this row, I have mentioned the name of the user. I have mentioned the email of the user. Now I create one more, like I go ahead and create one more like column out there, which is education. Okay. Now what happens? So this can contain only one kind of education. right? So what happens if initially that person was in school and then this person has gone to college and now he is doing some kind of vocational program? Okay, so what will happen is that if you are using this kind of structure, then what will happen is that you cannot store all of these three information in one particular thing. So what you are going to do? Can someone tell me the answer? Like if you want to store education, so one person can have multiple educations. This is also known as one-to-many relationship.
Make a relational table with respect to that user.
Right. So we will map users is a table. Okay. And now we understand that yes, there is also something known as education. There is also something known as skills. Okay. There could also be that one person has gone ahead and they have created they have gone ahead and added multiple phone numbers. Maybe primary, secondary, or something. Okay. So now in all of these cases, understand one user can have multiple of them. So one user can have multiple phone numbers, skills, and all. So this is known as one-to-many relationships. And whenever you go ahead, we do this, we try to split this information into two tables. Okay. So one table is users. Okay. And then the second table will become user, maybe let us say education. Okay. So here we will say that yes, Ankit is the user. And Ankit has, and this table maybe contains the name of the user, and it also contains the education. Okay, so maybe Ankit has studied at maybe St. Mark's College, and he has also studied at maybe IIT Gwalior. Okay, so this is the information that I have. But understand, I have made one column, one common column, which is the name. Here also name column is there. Here also name column is there. This column is essential. This column should be common in both the tables so that I am able to join the two tables. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm able to go ahead. Some information is stored in one table users and other information is stored in the education table. So I need to have a common parameter so that I can go ahead and join them. Here I have used name, but can anyone tell me what is the issue with not using name? Someone who's looking at this for the first time, maybe someone who does not know SQL, if they can give the answer. What is the issue with having my name as the common parameter?
Multiple people can have your
name. Yeah.
Right. So multiple people can have the same name, right? So if there is like there are so many Ankits out there, so definitely this is not the right way to make the connection. So what we'll do is we will introduce you to the IDs. So ID is a unique identifier of a particular, sorry, not ID, but a primary key is a unique identifier of a particular row in a table. So if we create users, so in the users table, we will go ahead and assign it an ID. Let us say we will assign it a user ID. Okay. And as new rows are being added, automatically its value will increase. So it will remain unique for each and every user. Okay. So this is the primary key, which will remain unique for that particular row in a table, for every particular row in a table. It cannot repeat. Okay. And this constant is set from the database software itself. It will make sure that this key is never repeated. Okay. And then I will store my name. I will store my email ID. I will store something else out there, right? This is the first table. Second table is the education. Okay. In the education, I will mention the education ID. Okay, so understand, whenever you create any kind of table, you have to make sure that there is some or the other kind of education, like there is some or other kind of primary key always mentioned, because you don't know when you are going to go ahead and need that particular thing. And most of the databases, they are not going to let you delete or update a particular thing if the primary key is not mentioned. Okay, so we'll call it education ID and the database will take care that it is making it unique every point of time. Okay, education ID. Then I will go ahead and write down the education, like what is the education, what is the college that you have gone to. And then we will mention the user ID. Okay, so this user ID, this user ID, they are going to be common. So this user ID is known as the foreign key. The foreign key in the context of these two tables. Okay, it makes sure that it is the common connection between these two tables. Okay, so to give you an example, if I have registered and my user ID is maybe 1002, my name is Ankit and my email is something, this is something. So in this table, my information would look like this. So education ID would be something unique. This is my education and this is my user ID. So maybe this is maybe 10025, 10026, 10027. I have added 3 educations. First is I was from this school, I was from this college, and now I am learning at this particular place. And the user ID is going to remain the same, which is 1002, 1002, 1002. Okay, so now we have understood that we have created 2 things. First table was user, and second table is education. Okay, so now can anyone tell me how would you create? So now this user wants to create status update. And now the name of the table is posts. Posts, like status updates, are also known as posts. So can anyone tell me how is it going to be? Okay, so one more thing which Nikhil has just mentioned in the chat, that if I put name or anything else, for example, name, you can say that name could be common, so that is not working. But for example, I go ahead and put my email ID as the unique thing. What is the issue over there? Can anyone tell me, if I go ahead and put my email ID as the unique one rather than the primary key of numbers, what is going to happen at that particular case? Because email ID is unique, right? What is the issue with that?
It will consume more memory there.
That is one of the reasons. Email ID can change. Yes, people every time they go ahead and change the email IDs, right? So ID is controlled, the primary key, the integer ID is actually controlled by the system, so it will not change. You do not need to be exposed to it. But yes, you definitely go ahead and change your email ID. So if your email ID is changed, for example, I change my email ID from Ankit to ankitshukla@gmail.com, then I'll have to update all the relations that have happened with that particular email ID, and that is going to be an intensive process for the database. And second is the reason which Shivam has mentioned, which is that is going to be more intensive. It is like a string of longer characters. So in order to match that up, more processing power is going to be consumed, and also it is going to take more space in the database to consume, and data is not cheap. Like storage is not cheap. Cool. So now can anyone tell me how would the posts database look like? What are the entities? What are the attributes over there? Tell me some ideas. What do you think should be stored in the post? So if I want to go ahead and make a post, what should be there?
It will have the user ID.
Yes.
So one
Then
column.
it would have timestamp.
Yeah,
Post ID.
Post
Mhm.
description.
Yes, post ID. Description and content is same. Yes, correct. Yeah, I think this should be enough. This
Then
should be enough.
attachment also you can add. I mean, for now it is not required, but we can.
Yes. Now attachment has a question. Yeah, Rohan, you are adding something?
Hashtags, can that be a valid I mean,
Yes. So
let's
now
say
we are talking about 2
100
things.
days
Okay,
of
we
code
are
or something like that. yeah.
correct. I'll tell you. So hashtag we have told, and then Shivam has also came up with attachments. Okay, so now understand, every post can have multiple hashtags, and also every post can have multiple attachments. LinkedIn does not allow you to only put one image, right? It can help you to go ahead and add an album as well. So now here also you will get another table now. If you want to go ahead and make sure that this hashtag and attachment possibility is there, so you have to create another table. One-to-many relationship would be attachments. In the attachments, we will mention the attachment ID. We will mention the post ID, because this is the relation between the post and the ID. So it will tell me what are the images that are attached. I will maybe attach the URL of the image so that it can be visible.
And one more we can have at last is status, because sometimes people delete also their posts.
Yes, that is also cool. That is also good. Status. So if people go ahead and delete it, you can just go ahead and make it 0 or 1. So 1 if it is visible, 0 it is not have. Okay. Yes. And similarly, Nikhil has talked about like ID. Okay. So like ID cannot also be taken here. Why? Because it is also one-to-many relationship. One post can have multiple likes. or multiple reactions. That is why we are going to put it differently. Now, so let us consider about reactions. What is the relationship? The reaction is, we have a user can have multiple posts, which is like one-to-many relationship. And then a post can have multiple reactions. Okay, one post can have many reactions, right? So now what we'll do is, in the reactions we will make. So can anyone tell me, help me with reactions? Understand, LinkedIn has 5 reactions. Okay, so tell me how you are going to do this.
So at first there will be one master table of reactions itself, those depicting those 5 reactions.
Yes, correct. So let us talk about this reaction only right now, which is the user reactions, the post reactions. Reaction ID and yes, reaction ID, and there would be a post ID, so that we are able to locate for which post is this particular reaction. Okay,
And number of times that reaction is given.
number of times.
Count.
Yeah. That you can do, but that can be done by count also on the real time also. Yes, and then there is a user ID, that which user has gone ahead and done that reaction. Okay, yes. So now there is a question. Okay, so user ID could be of 2 types. One user ID is of the user who has posted the status, and one is the user ID of user who has posted who has gone ahead and liked or made any reaction. Okay, so which one should I include, and should I include both or not?
So
The person who liked it, right? I mean, generally, the person who's liking it, or maybe they find it insightful. For that as well, I think.
Yes,
The who
yes,
reacted.
correct. So who has reacted is important, because the people who has posted it, it is already stored in the post table, right? You do not need to repeat it again. And similarly,
Yeah.
you do not have to have the post type. Why? Because post type is already mentioned in the post table. You can always join and connect. Srishti, you want to add something?
No, I was just about to say that the user ID is included in the post ID.
Yes.
The one who
The poster ID, the person who has posted, their user
Yes.
ID is also included. So whenever you do take these kind of decision, consider both the tables parallelly. Okay, so some information, whatever information you need on that page, consider that and say, like, if I want this information, where should the data be stored, and understand the relationships. Okay, so here the final tables would be. Oh, there would be one more thing. Okay, as Shivam has mentioned, that yes, we have the reaction ID. We have we have the reaction ID. We have the post ID. We have the user ID, and we also have the type. Okay, as in what have they reacted out of the 5 emotions. Okay, and now we can go ahead and make another table where we can say that these are reaction types, and reaction types could be very simple. So this could be an ID of this table, unique. This would be type, and this would be text. So if type is 1, then it means a like. Type is 2, it means something else. Type is 3, it means something else. So you can also create one more table in order to maintain. So in future, if you want to just go ahead and add one more emotion or remove one emotion, you can just go ahead and make sure that you are adding a 6th emotion to here, and that will work accordingly, and your UI will start showing because it is already connected to the database. Yes, this can also happen that if you want to go ahead and in case you want to make sure that some person has initially liked and then they have disliked the content, but you want to track when they have liked and when they have disliked. So you can go ahead and put a status as well. In the reaction, you can put a status. Timestamp is already there, right? So then if 1, it is active, 0, it is not active. So you can say that if people are liking or disliking a particular post out there, it will create a trail.
But for type, can we not directly include, let's say, laugh, sadness or something like that instead, rather than having another table? I'm not
Yes.
able to
So I'll
understand the
tell you.
reaction
Yeah.
type.
So I'll tell you that at scale it is going to matter. Okay, because understand, if you are storing the type here, I can take it as a number 1 to 5, right? if I'm storing this particular reaction type, right? But in actual world, like when we talk about so many things out there, if I'm not including any like any third table, then what will happen is that we will store it like maybe some like or some kind of maybe other kind of information, which is I'll tell it like, I'll tell it love, I'll tell it maybe happy. So it might take some more information, and when people are looking at the database, they would not be able to understand what 1 stands for, what 2 stands for. So there has to be third table, which will be able to help developers understand what is there.
I was asking from the point of view of creating, let's say, your homepage. When you're creating the homepage and you create a post, you'll have to join so many tables, right? From post to reaction, reaction to, will it not increase the operation and make it slower? Because you are actually adding another table. So I'm just kind of from a non-tech perspective.
Yes. You are completely correct. So what happens is that initially you go ahead and figure out, make sure that you are normalizing your database. Normalizing means you are going ahead and breaking down in as many tables as possible. The rest of the optimization happens later. So it might be possible that yes, you have understood that there are only 5 things. Okay, only 5 reactions out there. Okay, so you do not have to make a join. You will just go ahead whenever your site is loaded or whenever someone is loading the site for the first time, you can always go ahead and cache all of this element. Okay, so it will just check that yes, if this is 1, I will straight away go to this data element rather than this particular reaction table in order to get this information. So that is the optimization that we are going to learn later. Yeah. Nikhil, you want to add something?
I just want to understand. So when someone likes, so there will be a reaction ID and there will be a type. Then if the same person disliked it, then how will we track it? And let's say one way is like we enable the status to inactive for that reaction ID. But how will we know at what timestamp it was liked and then it was disliked?
Right. So I'll tell you ID. This is the maybe let us say the type of reaction. This is the timestamp. This is the user ID. This is the post ID, and this is the yes, this is the status. Okay, so for the first time you have gone ahead and like. Okay, so everything would be filled over here, and this would be 1. Okay, so this is 1, this is 1, this is maybe let us say at 8:30. This is your user ID, and this is the post ID. Okay, now someone will go ahead and they will dislike it. So what will happen? It will not change this. Okay, it will just go ahead and change its status. So I have gone ahead and disliked it. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and understand if this particular person has gone ahead and disliked it. So what I'll do is, what is the final status? Yes, so I'll just go ahead and change the status. That is the one thing that I can do, but it will then remove this.
Yeah, you will lose the
timestamp.
timestamp.
Yes. So I think we can create a trail. Okay, so what is the ID? So I'll just go ahead. I'll create one more. I'll create maybe type is again this. Then I will go ahead and add one more timing. User ID is this, post ID is this, and I will make sure that whatever is the status of this, I will rest of the all status I will make 0. Okay, while only the recent status is going to be whatever it is. Then it will create a trail. So for example, if I have gone ahead and liked this, if I have gone ahead and maybe disliked this, so this will become 0 and rest will also become 0. But if I have again gone ahead and liked it, so everything would change. This will become 3, this will become 8:33, this will change, and now the latest status is 1, which has liked it, and others will become 0. So now you can go ahead and get a complete trail. I hope that makes sense, Nikhil, right?
Yeah. And when let's say server would be sending this to client, so we'll be only selecting the final ones basically.
Yes, correct. So server would not have the context. It will only have like what was the latest context out there. The client would not have all the context. It will only have the recent context. So it will show what is the current status. Then you will go ahead and send the updated status, and it will show that as the current status. And if in case we go ahead and change the reaction. So for example, we go ahead and on basis of we have from like we have approach to maybe a laugh, it will maybe become 2. This will change, this will change, this will remain the same, and then the status of everything else will change while the latest will be taken from the client, which is either 1 or 0. So the trail would be maintained, but mostly I do not think like most of the time LinkedIn is going to do it, because I'm not sure if they would want this kind of data.
Understood. Thank you.
Cool. So now we'll go ahead and we'll try to understand what we have created. Okay, so React on status update. So now this is something that would be created. Okay, so how to create the schema? First of all, you have to understand the feature. You have to understand what is the data that would be helpful for you for the feature as well as for the further analysis of the data out there, for the further analysis for any supporting any business case or a product case. Okay, then you will identify the entities. Entities are the name of the rows, which is like the similar set of data. And attribute is what are the properties of these entities. And then you will identify the relationships. If it is one-to-many relationship, then you will make sure that there are multiple tables that you are creating. If it's many-to-many relationship, then also you will go ahead and do the same. Okay, one-to-many relationship is one thing, one user could have multiple kind of these properties. For example, one user can have multiple skills. Okay, now, and also there is many-to-many relationship as well, which is one college could be for multiple people and multiple people could be from one college. That there also you are going to create maybe multiple tables out there. Okay, so in the end, you will end up with this particular thing, which is create profile is one, which is we'll call it as users table. Then post updates, we'll call it a post table, and then we have React table. So ID, name, time, URL, organization, and source. URL is the unique URL that you have. Organization is where you are coming from. Imagine that we only can have one organization at a time. Then source, where is this person acquired from? Which is from the UTM parameters and all, like the source of campaign. Then we have ID, content. Then we have time, and then we have user ID. Okay, like time when it was done, content of the post, the description. We have not gone ahead and considered any kind of attachment, but I've told you in that case how the database is going to look like. Then we have user ID, which person has gone ahead and post like this particular thing. Then here we have type, post ID, user ID, and time. Understand the ID that I have mentioned, it is the primary key of this. Okay, and here is the primary key. For other table, it could become a foreign key. For example, in the user ID, user table, this is the ID. While for other table, it will become the foreign key to connect these two. Okay, and also there is a tool known as Draw SQL. Okay, which you can use. So if you are going ahead and if you get any kind of assignment for your product management job or something else out there, okay, and if you want to showcase this to your developer, the best thing is to go ahead and go with like your SQL, the Excel sheets out there or the Google sheet. And the second best way is to showcase is visualize really well. So you can go ahead and use this tool, which is drawsql.app, which I have used in order to create this. So I'll just go ahead and log in and see if this works. Yes, it is working. So I'll just go ahead, create a new diagram of LinkedIn DB Tech 101 terminal. Sipsi, you are asking something?
Yeah, Ankit, why would we create a SQL, query for them?
Yes, as a product manager, you're not going to create it. If you are like working in any company as a product manager, you're not going to do it. But some places we have seen in the technical rounds, people are going to ask you to create these kind of things. And even in the take home assignment, we have seen people have started giving these kind of things so that you understand what the data is.
Okay.
But most of the time, as a product manager, you would not need to, unless you are like a technical product manager, you are taking these kind of systematic decisions out there. In that case, also it is very rare because people do not trust you to have this kind of hands-on knowledge. That is only for your own understanding. One thing that you can do is, which is you can suggest these things. For example, your like Nikhil has asked that we would need a trail. Okay, so your developer would not know. So if you know this information that yes, I would in the future, I would need this kind of trail. So you can mention it in the form of this visual diagram. So it is there to help or arrange the developer, but not to take the final decision.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can just go ahead. There are multiple data types. Understand? These are whatever you go ahead and okay. So when we go ahead and store, so imagine a database as a list of or a collection of various spreadsheet which are connected to foreign keys and primary keys. Okay, all of these columns out there, like in a row, there are multiple columns, multiple attributes, multiple properties are there. These are actually one or the other kind of data type. Okay, although I'll not be able to cover all of these data types, but yes, it is a good read for you. I'll attach some kind of document so that you can go ahead and read about what are these different kind of data types. Okay, and if we are defining these data types beforehand so that it becomes easier for the system to process all of these data type later on, because understand if you only need like some data point, for example, if you need an integer, you need a number, you would not go ahead and store it as a string. So it will help you go ahead and set some kind of constraints and then give more performance to your system. Because you also have to consider the speed and performance of the system. So SQL enables you to do all of this. So this is very simple. We'll just go ahead and if I want to create a users table, I'll click on users. ID is there. Name is there. ID could be an integer. And then this could be a character, maybe a variable character. And then we can add some more columns out there. Okay, and then in the end, we can maybe go ahead and create one new table, which is maybe the post table. In the post table, as you already know, we have an ID and we also have the content. And finally, content would be maybe, I think, text. And then in the end, we will have a user ID, which will connect the users table to the post table. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and add this as well. Okay, so now we have this. Now we can go ahead and connect an ID to this particular user ID. And then I can also mention the one-to-many relationship. Okay, very simple to do. This would be understand all of this that we are teaching in this technical 101. It could be an overdue on your job as a product manager, but it's easy to it's good to go ahead and know this information. Cool. Any questions so far from anyone? If you have no questions, please go ahead in the chat.
Ankit, can you define schema, because I joined late?
Okay, so schema is the structure through which you are going to store the data. Okay, so schema is this, like whatever you see, like what is the kind of information that you want to go ahead and store, that is known as schema. The structure of that information is schema.
Okay.
The blueprint.
Does
Yes.
Cougar means the same thing, or it's a tool?
Cougar is COUGAR.
Yeah.
Let me see what this is. I know that's an animal, but I'll have to see what it is.
Because my
Cougar
developers
is-
keep on using these words.
Cougar SQL tool import export. I'm not sure what this is.
Okay.
So cool. So now we'll go ahead and introduce you to SQL. So understand, we have talked about what the schema looks like. We have talked about that, yes, this is how people are going to go ahead and use it. For example, you get the information from the presentation layer. Then the logic layer goes ahead. It already has a schema for the database. It knows the schema. So it is going to accordingly insert the information. But how does the logic layer goes ahead and talks with that table? Because that's a spreadsheet or that's a long list of data out there. How you are able to do a dialogue with it, how you are able to get the information from it, and how you are able to put information into it. So for example, when sign up is happening, you are throwing some data to the database and you think that it is going to store it. And then when you want to show the profile to the user and show the number of likes that someone has posted, given on a particular post, you have to retrieve that information. So how that happens? So SQL is a language that enables you to talk to the database. It enables the developers to talk with the database, and it also enables you as a product manager, as a data analyst, as a data scientist to talk with the database. So if you want to talk with the database, you have to know SQL. Whatever information is there, understand, you can see the spreadsheet. That is okay, but you cannot derive so many insights from it because most of the time these are going to have million, billion, thousands of rows out there. Okay, so SQL is a language that helps you understand and talk with the database that is there. SQL stands for Structured Query Language. How many of you have tried SQL in the past? Like you know SQL? A quick yes or no in the chat. So I would expect like more answers from people who are saying no. So let us go ahead. Okay. So, but before that, let us understand how SQL can help you as a product manager, because it's like the work of the developer to go ahead and integrate your logic layer, presentation layer to the database. Why are you bothered about the same? Okay. So these are the few ways in which SQL can help you out. So if you know SQL, you do not have to run to the data science team or the developer every time. So understand SQL is basic. If you know like 4 or 5 commands in SQL, that is going to do 70-80% of your work, which I'm going to teach you today. Okay. So if you know SQL, you should be able to pull down the data from the database in your own time very quickly. You don't have to depend on a certain stakeholder out there. It will enable you and empower you as a product manager. Just give me a minute. Yes, yeah. So it will enable you and empower you as a product manager. Okay. And it will help you back up new features development. So whenever you go ahead and talk to your developer that, yes, we need to create this, you should be able to have some kind of data to support it. Data could be, so whenever you go ahead and support a feature, you can either come up with a business need, you can either come up with a user need, you talk to the users, you look at analytics, and you can also generate that particular need from the data that, yes, data says that you have to do this. Okay. And also the second point is persuasion easy with data. If you bring data along with you, it is going to help you out. Understand SQL is not the only way to collect data. If you go to your data science team, they can also help you do the same. But if you can do this, like if you can learn something in half an hour, why don't you go ahead and do it by yourself? Okay. And then uncover customer insight. If you look at data, you will be able to understand that, yes, this is what is happening. This is how users are going ahead and using my product. So one another use case of insights and analytics. Understand, although you know Mixpanel, although you know Google Analytics, you might be knowing so many stuffs out there. There is some kind of data that is only stored in your database. That becomes important to understand once you go ahead and work in any kind of company. So if you know how data is stored, you should be able to go ahead, and if you know SQL, you should be able to extract that data, which is not actually possible with most of the analytics tools. At IND Money, when we were working, so our most important data was actually in the database. So we have to make sure that we are running SQL query on that data, because we cannot send this data to the analytics tools out there because of privacy reasons. Then participate in data modeling. So understand, when you are creating a feature, you know that what information that you are going to use. Okay, so it is important for you to go ahead and have some understanding of data modeling, so that if needed, you should be able to voice out your opinion, your requirements to the developer in their language so that they understand. So this is why you should understand data modeling as well, which is schemas and all, which I've already told you. Okay, so moral of the story, data-driven decision making without too much dependency on the data team. Although your data team is there to help you out, and I would always recommend, if you're taking an important decision based on your own SQL queries, make sure that you are making it, like having it cross-checked with the data team before taking, like, betting on that particular decision on data. Okay, and now how SQL can help you. So if you are like any kind of company, these are some of the questions that SQL can help you out, which is how many new users are acquired in the last month. Your analytics tool can also do the same, and you can also do the same with SQL. Then what kind of posts are performing the best if you're a social network, which sources bring the best users. So on LinkedIn, how many people are acquired from a particular kind of resource out there, so that you can go ahead and guide your marketing team. Then which is the most used reaction, so that you know what is the sentiment of your platform. And then you know what do people react with the most. I think that is, when do people react the most, as in what is the time when people are most active in terms of reaction. So these are some of the simple questions that your SQL can help you answer. Okay, so for this exercise, for this whole chapter, we are going to use this particular diagram. It is the same users, posts, and reactions, same kind of like structure that we have given, and we have also inserted some of the data out there. Okay, so in this case, whatever example that we are going to use, it is going to be taken from the same table. Cool. So understand, there are 4 major queries in SQL. We are now entering into SQL, structured query language. How do you go ahead and create queries? So first part is, there are 4 things that you can do. First is, you have to insert data. Whenever someone signs up on your system, or whenever someone goes ahead and create a status, whenever a data is created, okay, you have to invoke the create command. The second is update. Someone goes ahead and they update their status. Someone goes ahead, then they added their comment. Someone goes ahead and they status update and added the update. Okay. And someone goes ahead and they added their profile, change their email ID, change their phone number, change their name. Okay. Then you have to update all of these things. Then there is delete. If you want to delete something, then that is there. And the last part is select. Understand, as a product manager, you do not have to touch, insert, update, or select. Even if your developer has given you some kind of access to write SQL, I'm sure they would have revoked the access for insert, update, and delete. Okay, you have to use, as a product manager are going to use select most of the time. Okay, this is also this is paraphrased as CRUD operations, which is create, read, update, and delete. Create is for insert, read is for select, update is for updating, and delete is for deleting. So this is a very common term which is used in the web application world or any kind of computer science world, which is CRUD. create, read, update, and delete. And most of the businesses that you see, like most, I think 70, 80, 90% of businesses out there, their all tools are actually worked on only these 4 things. Okay, so if you consider LinkedIn, what it does goes ahead, allows you to create a profile, allows you to go ahead and create some status updates, allows other people to create reactions on the same, allows other people to create videos as well. Okay, so most of the systems that you are going to see in this world, these are actually CRUD operations. Any CRM that you take, Slack that you take, which is actually like a combination of CRUD operations happening at a scale with a large number of users. Okay, so now how we do go ahead and do select. So the queries are very, very simple. Okay, you only need like half an hour in order to understand most of the SQL. Advanced is going to take a more time, but here in this session, you'll be able to understand the basic things. Okay, so the first basic thing is going ahead and select something. So selecting means you want to see the data. Okay, you want to see a particular kind of data. So what you will do is, you know the name of the columns, you know what the table is because you know the schema now. Okay, and now you will go ahead and just write. If you want to see information from 2 columns, you will write select name of column 1, name of column 2, or any column that you want to select, separated by a comma, or even 1 would work. And then you will write from table name. For example, if I want to know what is the ID of this user or what is the name of this user, I'll just write select ID comma name from users, and then it will give me the names of the particular user selected. Okay, this is a simple select statement. If you want to select everything, like whatever the columns are there, for example, you do not know what are the names of the columns, so but you know the name of the table, so you will write select star from users, just to make some more sense out of this, because people who do not know, they would not be able to understand. So I'll go to one tool known as SQL Fiddle. Okay, here I'll build a schema. This is some ready-made schema that I have created. This schema is this particular table that we have been talking about. Give me a moment. I've created this sheet in order to help you understand how it works. Okay, so these are the 3 tables that we have. Okay, one table is users table, which contains the information about the user. Then there is a post table, which contains the information about the posts. It is like the same structure that we have discussed ahead before, and it is the reactions table. Okay, so now I'll go ahead and put this into a tool. So I'll just go ahead and copy all of this. Okay, so this command, if you're not able to understand, it helps you create table and insert some kind of information. Okay, your developer is not going to allow you to do the same, and you do not need it actually. So I'm not going to explain it to you, but this simply, it helps you create the table and put some information there. So I'll just go ahead, copy all of this. Go to SQL Fiddle. It is a tool that helps you learn SQL. Okay, so I'll copy this here, and I will click on build schema. So now the schema is built. If I want to see what is there in the table, I'll just click on browse. And now you see that 3 tables are created: post, reactions, and users. This is post, this is reaction, and this is the users table. Okay, now I want to get everything that is stored in the users table. Okay, so let us go ahead. I'll write select that I've told you just now. I will write star from users. I'll run SQL. And now I have everything that is stored in this table. You can see it here, right? Now I only want to see the name of the user and the date that they have registered on. I'll just Control A and I'll run SQL. So now I could see only 2 things. Okay, so this is how select works. People who have said no in SQL, tell me if you are able to understand this. Yes or no, how select works. Cool. Thank you. So yes, the next part is, this is the select. So select is the most used thing out there, but now you know, like there are some limitations, like, right, you are only writing I want this. Now if there are billions of rows, how would you go ahead and understand what data to get? Okay, so now we'll use Okay, now you can also filter the data. If you only want a specific data based on some condition, that yes, if the user's name is Ankit, show him their profile. If the users have registered on this particular date, show us their profile. Okay, so you can write conditionals. Conditional is you can write a condition that yes, show me only the data of person who fulfills this particular condition. Okay, so for example, if you have gone ahead and created like a, I would say you want to understand, you want to get the data of people who have registered on a particular date, maybe 21st of January. So you can write select name from users where date is equal to the particular date that you want to mention. Okay, you can also have conditional logic rather than equal. You can also have greater than or less than as well. Okay, so for example, you have created a new database, and this database is about games. So in the user games table, you are recording the information of the score of the user. Okay, that this is the score of the user out there. Okay, so now if you want to understand in which games has user scored more than 200, so you will just go ahead and put a query out there which is select name from user games where score is greater than 0. Okay, so it is used to filter the data. Okay, I'm sure you guys have gone ahead and used Excel filters over there. It works exactly in the same way. You can go ahead and put some kind of conditions over there in which are logical conditions equal to, less than, or greater. Okay, and you can go ahead and combine multiple conditions. Okay, so let me go ahead and give you one more example here. So let us see here. I want to understand. I want to see posts which are made from user ID 1. Okay, so I want to see posts which are made from user ID 1. Okay, so I'll just go ahead, go to my SQL Fiddle, and I will write one more column. Okay, which is select star from posts where user ID is equal to 1. Run SQL. So these are the 3 posts that Ankit has created because they have the user ID equal to 1. Okay, and you can put any of the calculations over there, greater than, less than, and all of the things are working. Yes, there are 2 kind of. So if you want to join 2 conditions, that yes, this user should be having like this particular ID and they should have posted on this particular date, you can combine them. There is an AND query, there is an AND parameter and OR parameter. AND parameter will say that yes, both of these conditions should be true, and OR parameter says that one of these condition true is also good. I believe most of you might have learned it during maybe your 10th or 12th class something. Yeah, Vivek, you have a question? Please go ahead.
Ankit, the SQL language is understood and the schema is understood. How did you link the actual data in the Google Sheets to this? Because it's actually giving the actual data, right? So how did you do that?
Yeah. Can you come again? I'm not able to understand the question, Vivek.
How did you link the actual data in the Google Sheets to the schema? How did you put the actual data into this the table? So you've created a schema,
Yes.
in which you've created there's the skeleton of the SQL, the database, but the data which is coming, like the post. Yes, this is the schema, isn't it? So how did you add the actual data?
Okay. How do I go ahead and put the data, right?
Yeah.
How do I insert the data? Is it
for yes. In SQL Fiddle for testing?
Okay. So I'll tell you. So for testing, what you'll do is I'll just go ahead and create this command. Okay. So this command creates a table. Understand this command. Okay. This create table if not exist. I have mentioned what is the schema out there. I have also sent some sample tables. Okay.
Oh, this is created beforehand itself, isn't it?
Yes. Yes. I have created beforehand. Okay. Because you do not need the understanding of creating tables and all. Okay. So I'll go ahead, do this command, copy this SQL command, and then I will post it into like SQL Fiddle, and then I'll create on build the schema, and then this will.
So the command will create the schema as well as the data, isn't it? The command that you showed.
Yes. So command to understand. Okay. This command is a combination. The command has 2 parts. One part of command is create table. So that builds the schema. And the second part of command is insert this data. So you go ahead. I've also written an insert query over here. Okay. So one command is create table. One table is created. And then the other command is insert into this table this data. So now the data is also created. Similarly for another table.
Okay, got it. Thank you so much.
Cool. So this is about the filter. Okay, and then and or you can go ahead and combine if you want 2 conditions to be true at a certain point of time. For example, Yeah, for example, you want status updates from a particular user, and only the status updates made on a particular date. So you can write two conditions that yes, Ankit should have made this, or someone else, or maybe they should have made it on a particular date. So you can put two conditions over there. So and or is very simple out there. Okay. And yes, now the third part is aggregate functions. Okay, if you want to go ahead and do more calculations, if you want to understand, do some calculations on the basis of rows that are present over there. You have run a select, and then on the basis of that select, you want to go ahead and run some kind of other operations, simple operations such as what is the average of all the details that is given to me, what is the maximum, what is the minimum, what is the count, what is the sum. You can do all of this. But you as a product manager, select count is going to be very important. So let me tell you how count works. Okay, so count can give you whatever results that you have. It will tell you what is the actual number of count, like rows that are fulfilling that conditions out there. Okay, so for example, I want to see how many statuses are posted by Ankit. Ankit has a user ID of 1. Okay, I'll just go ahead, select. Okay, and understand it is like a language agnostic, like it is a case agnostic, case insensitive. Okay, so you can write maybe select in capital, you can write select in small character as well. That is completely okay. Okay, select count. I want to count the number of rows. I want to count everything. Okay, from the name of the table is users, where not users, actually posts. I'm trying to count how many posts are made by Ankit. Okay, where user ID is equals to 1. So it will give me one number, which is 3. So Ankit has made 3 posts. Now, for example, I do not know that this particular user ID, name of this, the ID of this user is 1. So I know the name, right? So what I'll do is I will try to join. Now, this is a different concept. In join, what happens? I will go ahead and try to join this post, and I'll try to join this user. Okay, I'm looking to join both of these things because I know the name of the user, but I do not know the ID of the user. Okay, so I want to get all the posts that are made by Ankit Shukla. Okay, so just go ahead. In order to figure this out, in order to join two tables and then do some kind of calculation, you have to know the foreign key and the primary key. Okay, so here the user ID and this ID is going to be the common key. So what I'll do is, this is the simple syntax. Select. Okay, I want to select maybe what are the posts that are made by Ankit, which is I want to select the, let us say I want to select the post from Ankit, and then the content is this. So I want to select the content. I'll choose post is the name of the table, dot. So table name dot column name. Okay, which is content. From, what is the first table? Posts. Now I will join this table, which what? With users table. Now, what would be the condition of join? On posts dot user ID is equal to users dot ID. Okay, where now what will happen if I do this? Can anyone tell me what will happen if I do this?
It will show all the posts of Ankit.
No, how will it know if this is Ankit?
Will
I have
show
not
you
written
all
anywhere
the
condition.
posts of all
Oh,
users.
yeah.
Yes,
Because you
it
have
will
not
show us
specified
all
the
the posts. Yes, correct. So it will show all the posts, right? Now I want to mention. Okay, I want to mention like this is the user. Where user dot name is equals to, I think name is there, right? Users dot name is equals to Ankit. Okay, so now tell me what will happen here. People who have said no in SQL, they should tell this answer. What do you think will happen?
Post related to Ankit's name will come only.
No, it will not come. Why? Because it will try to match my name. Okay, as it is. Okay, so there is Ankit Shukla, but there is no Ankit. So it will, so understand computers are dumb. They would not be able to understand what is happening there. Okay, so we have to make sure that we are either writing the full name. So if I go ahead and do this, nothing will be written. Okay, record count is 0. If I go ahead and write Shukla over there, then I think it might return something. Let me check if I'm doing it correctly. Yes, I'll go ahead and push this. And then my posts are there. But now if I do not know the full name, what will I do? I do not know the whole complete thing. What will I do? So there is another operator known as like. Okay, so in spite of equal to, you are going to get like, and then in the like, you can mention whatever is there in this percentage. This percent sign, whatever is mentioned, it is going to match it. If it is matching, then it will show the results. Okay, so if any name contains Ankit in between, then it is going to match. So now it will give me the results. Understood? People who have said no SQL, are they able to understand this like button? What it does? Like statement?
But Ankit, but you have never not mentioned Ankit Shukla anywhere. You have only mentioned
Yes,
Ankit.
yes. And still it is showing the results, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I have not used equal to, I have used like. Likes gives you the possibility to identify the pattern. So it says that tell me give me the rows where the name is like this, which means that if there is any mention of this particular word in that particular row, then go ahead and give me that. I don't have to mention the particular name of the user. I can mention only few characters and that will catch it. That is the power of like. If I do it maybe like equal to, if I do it equal to and remove all of this, then the results will be 0. Okay. If I do it like, then like is an identification. It is a pattern identification.
Okay.
I hope that is making sense to you, Sushi, right?
Yes, yes. Can you go
Cool.
to that sheet, LinkedIn sheet there?
Yes.
Here, so here you have not, okay, yeah, you have mentioned Ankit Shukla. Okay, thank you.
I've mentioned. Okay, so even if I write like AN, okay, then okay, AN will become a bit complicated because now you have to convert the characters as well, as in small characters or bigger characters. Okay, so let us see if we can do something else. So let us see if we are able to understand something else. Okay, so I think you guys have understood like, and you guys have understood count. Count will just go ahead, aggregate all of the rows, whatever rows that you have. It is going to give you like a count of all of these rows. Okay, and then we have a very important function known as group by. Okay, sometimes count is not enough. You want to go ahead and understand how many posts that Ankit has made, how many posts that Gagan has made. But if there are so many users out there, till when you are going to take the names in order to count all of the posts that they have created? Okay, you need to do some more aggregation. You want to know this user has made how many posts, and all of the users, how many posts have they made individually. Okay, their group by comes. You go ahead, whatever is the result in front of you, whatever your select statement has, whatever your filters are, based on them, you are going to go ahead and group them again on a particular entity. I'll show you an example, then you will understand. Okay, so here in this table, I want to understand how many people. So I want to understand how many, which reaction is mentioned how many number of times. Okay, I want to see which is the most popular reaction. So one way to do is that I'll go ahead and individually I will see how many times a like is mentioned. So I'll write select count star from reactions where type equal to like. So it will tell me like, or what I can do is I can do it group by. Let me tell you how. Okay, so the intent is to understand which is the most popular reaction. Okay, so select count maybe star from reactions. Okay, group by type. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and write type. Okay, so 2 to 6, but I do not know which was the reaction. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and write one more column, which is type. So now it will show me. Okay, so 2, 2, 6, celebrate, hurt, and like. Celebrate is hurt, like is the most popular. And now you want to go ahead and make sure that the most popular one is at the top. So what you will do is you will write, you want to order this by ascending. Okay, so you will go ahead and order by descending. So this is a new keyword that I have introduced, which is order by. If you want to, whatever results are in front of you, you want to order them in a certain order, you can go ahead and use order by. Okay, and then you can write what is this. Okay, so order by, what is the column name that you want to go ahead and do with this. Okay, so you can just go ahead and give this name to a column as C. I'm going to tell you in a minute how it works. Okay, so understand. So now in order to put an order by statement or an order by clause, we have to mention through which column do we want to go ahead and order this out. Okay, in order to make the naming simpler, we can always go ahead and put a name to whatever column that we have selected. Okay, so this is the count 622, and we have gone ahead and put it by descending. So the top is at this. If I want to go ahead and put it in an ascending order, I can write ASC. So maybe celebrate or hurt will take the first place. Okay, now if I want to only go ahead and check the topmost, I am not bothered about other things. Okay, so just go ahead and I will write limit 1. I will put it as descending, so that the top one is at the most. So like is the top one, which 6 instances. Quickly, yes or no, everyone, if you're able to understand this. Cool. So I think we have covered most of the queries out there. So there is select is important. Now, if you want to limit your select, you can go ahead and do the filter on terms of conditionals. Okay. Now you want to aggregate whatever you have seen, you want to go ahead and aggregate them. You can use aggregate functions such as count or all. If you want to go ahead and group them further, you can use group by. If you want to go ahead and limit the number of results, you can use limit. If you want to arrange them in descending and ascending order, you can use order by. Okay, so these are the only commands that you would need. The last command I've already told you, which is joins. Okay, you go ahead, you identify the rows. So understand there are multiple kinds of joins, which is like the beyond the context of our discussion, but I'll add some of the links so that you are able to go ahead and understand what joins are. Okay, so what are like more complicated joins? But to understand here, join is nothing. You know that our data in this particular table is separated across these tables. Okay, in this database, our data is separated across these tables. So we should have a way in order to join these things together. Okay, that is known as join. Okay, and how? In order to join, you need to have multiple things. First, you should know which column are you talking about. Then you should know which table are you talking about. And then you should know what is the foreign key. What is the foreign key connection between these tables? Okay, so now let's go ahead. And yes, so I'll give you like a brief of how we approach SQL questions, okay, and how we approach writing SQL queries. So first of all, you have to decompose the problem, whatever. First of all, you should know what is the schema, okay. Then you should go ahead and decompose the problems into right metrics. That yes, if I'm looking for this particular thing, for example, how many users have registered last day? What is the most popular source of acquisition for us? Okay, or when have the users gone and most users are going ahead and installing the app, or when are the most users most active or users most active? Okay, so you need to understand these metrics, and then you have to understand what could be the right kind of columns which can the right kind of column which can give you this information. Then you'll go ahead and decompose the problem. First thing, break down your problem into smaller metrics which you can measure. Then identify the tables where this data could be possible if you have the schema understanding, or you can take the help of your developer. Then identify the joins. If you need to use multiple tables, go ahead and identify the joins. Identify filters, aggregates, and groups if you want to do this, if it is necessary. And then run. The last part is very important. Always do a sanity check. Sanity check is try to ask yourself that do you think this data is correct? For example, if all of the users that you have is 10,000, that is the total kind of users. And now if you see that how many people are acquired last week, and now you find that 6,000 people are acquired last week, that appears a bit odd. So you always have to go ahead and do the sanity check. And if you are trying to present some data to like some of your superiors out there, and data is like that is very important for you, like for your existing in the company or maybe for your product out there, make sure that you are getting it cross-checked with some of your developers or some of your data science team members. That is very, very important. Okay, do not lose your like credibility just because you have gone ahead and not cross-checked a data that you have presented. This is very important. Okay, so we can do it together, but I'll give you an exercise rather than this. Okay, so whatever like I was talking about the schema, I have mentioned it here. Okay, you guys can go ahead and check this out. This will give you this particular thing. Okay, after this, you have to go ahead and open sqlfiddle.net like this. Okay, in the SQL Fiddle, you have to copy all of the content that is there. You have to copy all of this content from create table to the last line, and then you have to paste it over here. Okay, and once you paste it, then you will have to click build a schema. Once you click on build a schema, then it will appear something like this. Okay, then you can go ahead and write your SQL queries. Okay, and when you write your SQL queries, once that happens, you have to go ahead and write select name from user so that you are able to understand if your data is working or not. Okay, and then I'll go ahead and maybe post some exercises in the group so you are able to do it on your own time. I understand most of you are able to understand what I have told. So I'll share this in the WhatsApp group and the Slack group so that you are able to do the exercise by yourself. I'll share all of this sheet so you are able to know. Just before we wrap up, some practical advice when it comes to doing these SQL and all. Okay, so first of all, if you are a new product manager, invest time in setting up tools to carry out SQL by yourself, Redash and Metabase. Okay, so in many companies, if they do not have a product management culture, then what might happen is that most of the times they would not have set up tools for exposing like these databases or SQL to the product managers out there. Okay, for other users, for like internal people out there. So if you're a new product manager, make sure that you are introducing tools, free tools such as Redash, such as Metabase, which will help you do queries on your database. There are some security implications to it, but your developers will understand that. Okay, because understand if you have the power of data in your own hand, you can make things, you can push things more quicker. Okay, that's the first part. Second part is understand limits. Most of the times, product managers do disasters when they do not put limits. Understand whatever database that you are working on, if you are working in a big company, it is possible that you are working with millions and billions of rows. If you do an SQL query and it does not contain limit as in how many rows that you want to see and work with, then it will run the query on the whole database. It is going to waste a lot of resources. So always use limits. If you are running any kind of query, always make it a mind to put limit 10, 20, 30, 100, whatever that is in your mind at the end of the query. Never write a query without limit. Then invest initial time. So understand SQL you can learn, but you have to invest more time into understanding the schema. Okay, because understand various kind of people can have various understanding of the schema. So make sure that you understand in detail and actually what your team has implemented. Okay, so that you can understand what queries, what tables to look after. So invest your 2 to 3 weeks initially when you go ahead and talk with the engineering team to make sure that you are understanding the schema. Okay, and then do queries and find out if data matches everywhere. Understand every company had different tools. They have some main database, they have an analytics tool. There would be some reports that are sent to the company wide out there. Go ahead, do your queries and understand if your queries, whatever your queries producing and what the other analytics tools are presenting, they are matching or not. It could also be like the first project that you can take in order to understand if data is same across the networks or not, same across the different platforms or not, like analytics platforms or not. Okay, then look at company dashboards and check queries. If you are using a tool such as Metabase and Redash, it will help you, or maybe BigQuery, it helps you understand what is the query behind this. It will also help you build better SQL skills. And then indexes. Understand if your index is a property. Okay, so understand if you go ahead and finding yourself that you are putting where or like queries, where and like queries on few columns very frequently. Okay, then ask your developers to go ahead and add indexes. Indexes will make sure that it is consuming less resources and it is also very, very quick. Resources is subjective. Sometimes index take even more resources, but it is going to be very quicker. Okay, so these are the 7 pieces of advice that I have for you. Srishti, you want to ask something? Please go ahead.
Ankit, elaboration on point 4 and 5. Can you explain it with example?
Yes. So, for example, you have a table known as users, okay, where you see that all the user registered which are present in this table. Okay. Now, a company also has a policy that every day they send some kind of reports to everyone that yes, yesterday these number of users have registered, so that people are motivated and people are aware that yes, if something is not going down south. Okay. And also the third source could be your analytics tool, such as maybe a Mixpanel or any tool that you are using, that is also going to tell you that you sign up event, the registration event has occurred these many times. So what you should do is you should try to match this data in order to understand if it is correct or not, if there is any kind of discrepancy in the data. If it is there, go ahead and address it with the developer, try to voice out your opinion. It happens with many companies. I have seen that there is like a discrepancy in data of about 10, 15, 20%, and people don't even know about it because they have not checked the data and combined the data.
Got it.
Yes, Shivam, you have to ask something?
Yeah, this is something out of context.
Mhm.
I mean, out of context of everything. So I just
Okay,
want,
then you can go to come to the Thursday office hours.
okay.
If it is out of context of everything. Okay. Rohan, you want to ask something?
Actually, I kind of understand this from a relational database point of view. I just wanted to know in the industry, especially, right? When you're working as a product manager, and especially when you come across NoSQL database, let's say any type of NoSQL database, I'm not like technically specific, but any NoSQL database that you use, right? Relational database, I understand. Okay, you have like rows, columns, and everything is working fine, right? But when you're actually thinking about NoSQL databases, right? So do you on your own, even in that scenario, just have to go with the select queries and stuff like that as a PM? Or for NoSQL database, you need to be able to actually go into the documents and read the documents and stuff like that? I just want
Yes.
to know.
So yeah, we are going to cover that in the next session. Okay, where we are going to talk about. So the slide is there, SQL versus NoSQL, where we are going to understand all of this.
Perfect.
Okay.
There's no problem.
Yes.
Sorry.
Cool.
Ankit,
Yes. Yes, Shivam.
so I haven't encountered it till yet, but do we have options to access these Redis cache as a product manager?
No, not as a. You have the access to access this. You have like you have the ability to access this, but most of the product manager do not ask for it. I have accessed it while I was at Handy Money, also at Shiros, but most of the product manager you would not need it. You will just go ahead and if there is any kind of issue, ask it to the developer. They are going to show you the logs, and that is there.
Okay.
Cool. Chirag, you want to ask something?
Yeah, so you mentioned like if we don't put where clause or if we are doing some queries regularly, it will use up a lot of resources. So what resources? Computing power of the like the machine or the cloud or the API calls we are making, or what and how it can
Everything
affect?
is related. Yes, everything is related. For example, if you go ahead and write a complex query, okay. So understand SQL, like most of the time when you see a website is not working or something, most of the time if it is slow, maybe I would say 80% of the time, it's because of the SQL database. Okay, so if you are going ahead and putting so many queries over there, that can load the database. And so if the database is down, then your queries would be slower, and then your customer would not be able to access this, and also your APIs would be slower. So most of the time what developers do is they will go ahead and create a replica of the same database for the internal consumption between the business intelligence team and also the product managers.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Cool. So thank you everyone. Bye, take care. There is also like one thing out there, okay, which is like there is an assignment. Okay, I'll post this assignment in the LMS as well. If you guys want to do this, not any force. If you have time, go ahead and do this assignment. This is going to add something to your knowledge. If you are done with this assignment, you can post a screenshot or submit it in the LMS. We'll go ahead and give it a read. Srishti, you want to ask something?
Yeah, I mean, Redash and Metabase is same as Superset.
I'll have to check what superset is because there are so many tools out there.
Yeah, it has like it does kind of the same thing. We use Superset, and I really hate it.
This is superset, enables
Yeah.
scaling to automate end-to-end. No. This is not super campus placement software. Apache.org will come super lightweight, intuitive with option make user all size skills. Yes. Cool. Understood. Yes, this is the like Redash.
Correct.
Cool. Yes, this even the interface is like Redash. Yes. Correct. Cool. Yes, this is the same. Cool, guys. So I think we are done with today's session. I'll share all of the details with you. Make sure that you want to do the assignment, and also just do the exercise that I've shared with you, like about the LinkedIn diagram and all. It will help you learn about SQL. And also, I'm going to share few resources so that if you want to take your SQL skills to the next level, go ahead and do this. Understand, SQL is a very high ROI skill. If you learn SQL, it is going to help you in multiple ways. Okay, you don't have to run to the data science team every time, and you'll eventually become better at data insights as well. Okay, so thank you everyone. Bye, take care, and we'll see each other very soon when we'll discuss about SQL, NoSQL, and next discussion is also going to be about understanding APIs.
Ankit, office hours still happens on Wednesday.
Yes, it happens on, no, I think it happens on Thursday now. Okay, so I think you can check. I'm not sure if it is happening on the general channel or something, but we'll make sure that we are posting it again.
Okay. I'll ask from Kunal.
Sure. Thank you everyone. Bye, take
Bye.
care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.